promoting dialogue.
It's 6 o'clock in Dakar, 7 o'clock in Porto Novo. Good evening and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Ivorian ruling RHDP denounces Tijan Chiam's removal from electoral list as political persecution. Opposition leaders in Liberia express solidarity with embattled speaker, calls on President Bouakai to respect court ruling.
The number one citizen in the republic who vowed to respect all laws has decided to play politics with a constitutional mandate. The truth is, this constitutional mandate is not a debatable mandate. President Bouakai, you must follow the mandate from the Supreme Court.
In Ghana, doctors resume emergency services at Tamale Teaching Hospital after 2-day strike over poor working conditions. President Jomai Faye calls for training programs to equip young people for the job market.
Pilier essentiel de la stabilité sociale et du développement humain. L'emploi constitue un garant solide du droit à une vie décente.
An essential pillar of social stability and human development. Employment constitutes a solid guarantee of the right to a decent life.
Details of these stories and more coming up shortly. Please stay with us.
Christopher Aticho with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast and a warm welcome to our listeners within and beyond the sub-region. Newslink begins in Cote d'Ivoire, where the ruling rally, Houphouetis for Democracy and Peace RHDP, has revealed that the removal of opposition leader Tijani Chiam from the electoral list ahead of the October presidential race is not a political persecution. In a statement, the spokesperson for the Ivorian Presidential Party, Kobna Kosi Adjomani, said the move by the Abidjan Court of First Instance was a strict adherence to rule of law and the Constitution. Last Tuesday, the Ivorian court ordered the removal of Tijani Chiam, president of the Democratic Party of Cote d'Ivoire PDCI, from the provisional electoral list on the grounds that he had lost his Ivorian nationality at the time of his registration on the electoral list. Adjomani further added that Tijani Chiam's case is not a political affair, questioning why the RHDP is accused of being the cause of Mr. Chiam's legal troubles. Still in Cote d'Ivoire, the government has denied allegations that it was involved in the recent forward coup attempt in Burkina Faso. According to officials in Ouagadougou, the attempt on the life of Burkinabe head of state Captain Ibrahim Traoré occurred in Abidjan a week ago. This information was made public earlier this week by the Burkinabe Ministry of Security. But in a sharp response, the Ivorian government denounced such accusations. Emo Edit completes the story.
The Ivorian government spokesperson reassures that Cote d'Ivoire is not a rare base for destabilizing Burkina Faso. Amadou Coulibaly denies the new accusations from the Burkinabe authorities and demands proof.
Pour ce qui est de l'accusation du Burkina,
As for the accusation from Burkina, I no longer know which accusation we are on. I am still waiting for the evidence of the latest accusation. Perhaps there will be others. I have no comment to make. Sometimes, especially when you are the head of a country, you have to be serious.
quand on a la tête d'un pays, il faut être sérieux.
Since coming to power in September 2022, Burkina Faso's military authorities have made numerous accusations against Cote d'Ivoire, which has been cited in almost every attempt to destabilize Burkina Faso. In response, Abidjan has consistently denied the allegations. Diplomatic relations between Burkina Faso and Cote d'Ivoire have been strained for several months. Last February, the two countries had resolved their diplomatic dispute and committed to cooperating on security issues along their shared border. Ivorian Defense Minister Atene Birahima Ouattara had stated that Cote d'Ivoire wanted to organize joint patrols with Burkina Faso to secure border areas against the terrorist threat.
Emo Edit filed the report. In Liberia, leaders of the opposition have expressed solidarity in the Supreme Court rulings upholding the legitimate speakership of Fonati Kofa. United as a force, leaders from the Congress for Democratic Change, the Alternative National Congress, the All Liberian Party, and the Movement for Economic Empowerment, MOVI, convened in Monrovia for an emergency meeting aimed at addressing a critical political crisis. The gathering comes in response to President Joseph Boakai's decision to defy the recent ruling of the Supreme Court, a move that has sparked outrage among many citizens who view it as a blatant disregard for the rule of law. The Supreme Court ruling on Wednesday deemed the leadership backed by the government as unconstitutional, a verdict that has raised questions about the legitimacy of the current administration's authority. In line of this ruling, opposition leaders have prioritized unity and strategic planning to formulate a swift and effective response. During the meeting, former Liberian Vice President Joel Howard Taylor expressed deep concerns over the implications of President Boakai's declaration to work with the government-supported leadership, which many believe undermines the judicial authority and sets a dangerous precedent for governance in Liberia. Here is Liberia's former Vice President Joel Howard Taylor.
The number one citizen in the republic who vowed to respect all laws has decided to play politics with a constitutional mandate. The truth is, this constitutional mandate is not a debatable mandate. President Boakai, you must follow the mandate from the Supreme Court. There is a very clear difference here. Either as a nation we agree to follow a path of chaos, because once you do not go by the rule of law, then you are calling for chaos. We either do chaos or we do calm, where our country is able to move forward, where the hopes and aspirations of our people will be met, where the dignity that carries the name Liberia across the nations of the world will no longer be looked at as a pariah. This is the choice we have today. He can decide whether he wants a calm country so that he can fulfill the rescue agenda. I believe it's just a story, as I've been saying, or you can open a Pandora's box that will lead us to a place where I'd like to call on the President of the Republic of Liberia, President Joseph Boakai, the members of the Unity Party, and the members of the Liberian Senate and the House of Representatives. The reason why the onus is on the president is because the first branch of government is the implementer of all laws. The Supreme Court has spoken. What they have spoken is law and is a mandate. We look forward to its implementation to its fullest.
Former Liberian Vice President Joel Howard Taylor. Let's travel to Mauritania now, where the verdict in the appeal trial of former President Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz will be delivered on May 14 this year. This follows his appeal hearing, which concluded on Wednesday. The former Mauritanian president had already been sentenced at first instance to 5 years in prison. He is accused, among other things, of illicit enrichment and money laundering. Francis Boniface has the details.
After weeks of debate at the Nouakchott Court of Appeal, the prosecution has requested a 20-year prison sentence for former President Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz. The court asserts that there is no doubt about his guilt regarding illicit enrichment, abuse of office, and money laundering. During various hearings, the Attorney General of the Court of Appeal presented pieces of evidence to demonstrate how the former president allegedly used his position for personal gain. He accused Abdelaziz of blackmailing several investors to enrich himself. The funds obtained were reportedly laundered through an association founded by one of Abdelaziz's sons. However, during their closing argument, the defense lawyers attempted once again to refute all the prosecutor's accusations. They called on the court to declare itself incompetent to hear the case, arguing that only the High Court of Justice has the authority to try a former head of state. This was also the position expressed by Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz during his final statement, where he complained about the isolation caused by his 5-year detention. He expressed concern about no longer being able to communicate regularly with his family. As a reminder, in December 2023, the former president, Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz, was sentenced to 5 years in prison at first instance. Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz, who ruled Mauritania from 2008 to 2019, has consistently denied the charges against him.
Francis Boniface filed the report.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Crossing over to Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has ordered an urgent overhaul of the country's national security strategies. This latest mandate follows frequent attacks by unknown gunmen in Borno, Benue, Plateau, and Kwara state of the country. These attacks have left dozens dead and several communities distressed. Usman Umar in Abuja has more in this report.
Following a marathon meeting with security chiefs at the State House in Abuja, President Tinubu on Thursday expressed deep frustration over recurring bloodshed, saying, I quote, "Enough is enough," end of quote. Nuhu Ribadu is the National Security Advisor to President Tinubu.
We, in charge of the security, got the opportunity today to come and brief him properly for hours. He's so worried and concerned. He insisted that enough is enough, and we are working and to ensure that we restore peace and security. We feel that we have done enough to believe that we are on the right course and we'll be able to be on top of things. We are getting the cooperation of like I said, the leadership at the state level and everybody. So we are good. It's not really 100% that everything is safe and secure, but we are going there. Things have improved since.
However, a security analyst well known as Mr. C is asking some critical questions about the president's directive.
To be honest, I cannot explain what that means to anybody because I don't know what enough is enough means. Is he saying that after that meeting there will be no more killings, or that if there are more killings that he will sack the service chiefs or he will replace them? If the latter is what it means, then why did it take over 150 Nigerians losing their lives to get to the point where enough is enough? Because the signs have been there all year. The signs have been there last year. The signs have been there the year before last. And we cannot stop reiterating the fact one of the major drivers for the surge in this sort of terrorist activity by non-state actors is the economic landscape. A lot of people are suffering tremendously.
As Nigerians await a return to peace in the affected states, the burden now lies on the nation's security institutions to turn the president's words into action and prove that, indeed, enough is enough. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Moving on to Ghana, doctors at the Tamale teaching hospitals have called off their strike after 2 days following the intervention of the overlord of Dagon, Yana Abubakari II. A high-level delegation dispatched by the overlord met with both the hospital management and representatives of Doctors Association of the hospital today to resolve labor issues. At the back of this meeting, emergency services have resumed at the referral facility which serves the northern sector. However, the doctors are still calling and demanding an apology from the Health Minister, Kwabena Mensah Akando, before they fully resume work to offer health services at the outpatient department and other units of the hospital. The doctors downed their tools, citing a hostile working environment, a lack of basic medical supplies, and what they describe as an insult to their dignity by senior government officials. Back here in Senegal, President Bassirou Diomaye Faye has chaired the 4th Social Conference on Employment and Employability on Thursday. During the event, the president remarked that the development of the artificial intelligence is disrupting the job market. The Senegalese head of state took the opportunity to announce that training programs be adapted to better meet the needs of the job market. Abdullah Hassan has the details.
President Bassirou Diomaye Faye reassured the private sector, partners and young job seekers of the state's firm commitment to providing concrete solutions to the employment problem. However, the president stated that skilled work and employment require a certain level of competence, quality and aptitude.
Pilier essentiel de la stabilité sociale et du développement humain. L'emploi constitue un garant solide du droit à une vie décente.
An essential pillar of social stability and human development. Employment constitutes a solid guarantee of the right to a decent life. Skilled work and employment require a certain level of competence, quality and aptitude. This is what we call employability. Therefore, there is an independent link between employment and employability that allows an individual to obtain, retain and advance in a job. This is a constant challenge in the face of the major technological upheaval of our time, particularly within the rapid onslaught of artificial intelligence. and the increasing use of robots and automated services in place of humans. These developments raise the acute question of the future of work and the skills of tomorrow.
Ces évolutions posent avec acuité la question de l'avenir du travail et les compétences de demain.
The overall objective of this fourth social conference is to develop a consensual roadmap for a national reform program to promote employment and employability in Senegal. The head of state, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, calls on the private sector, youth and partners to engage in rigorous consultation on this issue. In the National Development Strategy 2025 to 2029, the analysis of the employment sector primarily reveals a lack of a national employment policy. Given this situation, it is therefore necessary to move toward a new paradigm on the basis of which a new reform will be built to support and facilitate this desire to promote and create dignified and decent jobs in Senegal.
Abdullah Hassan filed the reports. You're still listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM from Dakar, Senegal, and around the world. We are live on wadr.org. We are also live on Facebook at WADR English Service, as well as YouTube WADR News. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Ivorian ruling RHDP denounces Tidjane Thiam's removal from electoral list as political persecution. Opposition leaders in Liberia express solidarity with embattled speaker, calls on Liberian President Boakai to respect court ruling. And Ghana, doctors resume emergency services at Tamale Teaching Hospital after 2-day strike over poor working conditions. President Diomaye Faye calls for training program to equip young people for the job market. Still ahead in the news, we have the guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
As the world prepares to bid farewell to Pope Francis, the 266th pontiff and a transformative figure in modern Catholicism, mourners are gathering in Vatican City for his funeral, set to take place tomorrow, Saturday, in St. Peter's Square. His death on Monday marked the end of the papacy, defined by compassion, reform, and a deep commitment to the marginalized. As Sankule Janko reports, the details reflect on the late Pope's life, legacy, and global response to his passing, as well as the key figures, especially from Africa, who may shape the church's future.
The passing of Pope Francis, the 266th Pope of the Roman Catholic Church, who died on Monday, April 21, 2025, at the age of 88, was announced after he led an Easter service early on Sunday. His death followed a sudden stroke after a recent battle with double pneumonia. The Vatican confirmed he died peacefully at his residence, the Domus Sancta Marta, surrounded by close aides. Here, Cardinal Kevin Farrell announced the Pope's passing on the Vatican's TV channel.
Carissimi fratelli e sorelle,
Dearest brothers and sisters, it is with deep sorrow that I must announce the death of our Holy Father Francis. At 7:35 this morning, the Bishop of Rome, Francis, returned to the house of the Father.
Born George Mario Bergoglio in Buenos Aires, Argentina, in 1936, Pope Francis made history as the first Latin American and Jesuit Pope. Elected in 2013, he was known for his simplicity, humility, and focus on social justice. He often eschewed papal luxuries, choosing instead to live modestly and advocate for the poor, refugees, and marginalized communities. His papacy was marked by efforts to reform the Vatican bureaucracy and promote interfaith dialogue. The news of Pope Francis' passing has drawn an outpouring of grief and tributes worldwide. In Africa, leaders have expressed deep sorrow and admiration for his legacy. The Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, was full of praise for the Pope while reacting to his demise.
Pope Francis was a messenger of hope, humility, and humanity. He was a transcendent voice for peace, human dignity, and social justice. He leaves behind a legacy of faith, service, and compassion for all, especially those on the margins of life or trapped by the horrors of conflict.
Pope Francis' legacy is characterized by his commitment to social justice, environmental stewardship, and interfaith dialogue. Even though he is gone, his legacy will remain, as stated by Father Peter Lopez, director of Gambia Pastoral Institute.
He's a pope for those who are less fortunate in life, and that is depicted in the many places that he went. Just before he died, he was at the prison to wash the feet of the prisoners during the Mass of the Lord's Supper. So he was really a pope who gave ears to those who were less fortunate, to migrants. In a very special way, the documents that he wrote, especially on the care of the environment.
As the church prepares for a conclave to elect a new pope, attention turns to potential African candidates who could succeed Pope Francis. Father Lopez highlighted prominent figures among them.
We have prominent cardinals there who will be in the conclave. Cardinal Sarah is from West Africa. He's not far from us here. He comes from Conakry. And then Peter Toxin from Ghana. Maybe the one from Nigeria because of age. Yes. Now he's of age. But these are wonderful cardinals who can possibly become popes. And that would be great for this continent that has, I think, the highest number of Catholics now.
Pope Francis' funeral is scheduled for Saturday, April 26, 2025 in St. Peter's Square, with over 170 international delegations expected, including heads of state and religious leaders. Following the funeral, the College of Cardinals will convene to elect a new pope, with the conclave expected to begin after May 6. Only time will tell who will succeed Pope Francis. However, his successor, according to Catholics, should build on the legacy of the late Pope, among them being the voice of the voiceless, promoting peace and reconciliation in conflict-affected areas, including in Africa, advocating for economic equality, respect for human and migrant rights, and campaign for preservation for ecosystems.
Sankole Janko filed the report.
Politics,
analysis on major news,
social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest interview this evening is with Dr. Maji Peters, a Nigerian security expert. He speaks about Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's latest mandate to overhaul the country's national security strategies. This latest mandate follows frequent attacks by unknown gunmen in Borno, Benue, Plateau, and Kwara states of the country. These attacks have left dozens dead and several communities distressed. Dr. Maji Peters speaks to WADR.
When we talk about that, government or the executive try to put forth energy, and now they're talking about rejig of the security and to change the strategy. Many a times we've had a lot of people say that of late, Nigerian security system has been more of reactive instead of being proactive. So people are saying you don't wait. It's good for you to do a mapping of your security system and do a security check and security impact analysis. And when that is done, then you are supposed to take the fight to where you think the enemies are. You don't wait to defend yourself because most of the time you're taking unawares. So I think it is within the framework of that has happened. Right now, the economy is not doing very well. And with the economy not doing very well, means that the whole idea of illegitimate means of ends which the insecurity propagates is going to be more appealing to people who have nothing to do.
With this call by President Tinubu ordering on new national security strategies, would you consider a national security strategy already in existence, or there's none?
Every country has a national security strategy, and that's why there's an office of national security advisor. And for every country that comes on, there's always a security strategy. They have had policies on combating terrorism. They've had policies on violent extremism. They've had sovereignty and their property. So all of this has always been there. But when you hear people saying we need to change strategy, it means that what we're doing might not be yielding the result that we want. I don't think they can do anything differently because the security policy of the present administration is take the fight to them. And they've been doing that quite a lot of time and we've been seeing results with it. So maybe here there could just be an increased level of aggression towards the camp of the terrorists and the bandits and all of that.
But in other words, what will the current directive by the presidency instill? Is it that there should be replacement of officers or directors of national security, or recruitment of new security officers? Or is it that there's need for manpower, or what we term as logistics support?
Changing security strategy could simply mean let's have more boots on the ground. It could simply mean let's do something differently from what we used to do. It could simply mean let's be more aggressive. It could simply mean let's strengthen our information system. It could simply mean let's strengthen early warning, early response. At times when it is, hey, we need to have more boots on the ground, and if we don't have more people, let's recruit. But there are times when you realize that, okay, maybe the leadership of security are not as proactive as I want to do, and you need fresh bloods in the system. So all of this could all be a change in strategy, and sometimes it could just be approach. What we're doing, let's do it differently.
What do you think should be the way forward to ensuring that this directive this time takes effect and should have an impact that should be felt by the vast majority?
I think when this happens, everybody is going to be on his toes, because you realize that if things go like this, and it's just like being responsible for a system, and they're complaining about the system. You either do it right or you're on your way out. So I think everybody is going to be on his toes now. We expect to see a result.
Dr. Margie Peters is a Nigerian security expert. And here comes Sankole Janko with details in the world of sports.
Al Ahly and Mamelodi Sundowns are set for a blockbuster clash on Friday night at Cairo International Stadium as they battle for a place in the final of the CAF Champions League. With the first leg in Pretoria ending goalless, everything is still to play for in the highly anticipated second leg encounter. Despite Al Ahly's rich history and dominance in African club football, it is Sundowns who have held the upper hand in recent meetings. Elsewhere, Pyramids FC and Orlando Pirates are poised for a make-or-break showdown on Friday night in Cairo, with a coveted spot in the CAF Champions League final at stake. After a tightly contested 0-0 draw in the first leg at FNB Stadium, the tie remains delicately balanced heading into the second leg at the Cairo International Stadium. Both sides will now need to dig deep to break the deadlock and book their ticket to the final. The Egyptian outfit will look to continue their imperious home form. Pyramids have won all 4 of their CAF Champions League home fixtures this season, raking up 17 goals and conceding just 3.
And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mam Kodufai, Maudu Juf, and Shekinjai for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook at WADR English Service. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is our security program, In the Sahel with Abdullah Hassan. I am Christopher Aticho. Good evening and enjoy the rest of our broadcasts.
More stories coming up.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas